True strength makes you a different man entirely. That's the goal. Musashi achieved it through 60 undefeated duels and became history's greatest warrior philosopher. The Book of Five Rings holds the framework for building it. 7 principles that turn you from someone who gets pushed around into someone who's already decided. By the end, you'll know exactly how to apply these to become unshakable, starting with the void, which eliminates false positions. You're not weak because you lack strength. You're weak because you're operating from a position that was never yours. Look at your life, the job title you chase, the way you talk in meetings, the confidence you think you have. How much of that is actually yours? And how much is just you playing the character society handed you? Most men spend their entire lives performing strength. They copy what successful men do and think that's power. It's not. You're wearing borrowed armor. Here's what's going to sting. Success itself is manufactured, not mastery, not becoming dangerous at your craft. I'm talking about the version that gets sold to you. Corner office, 6 figures, validation from people who don't know what they want. That's not a goal. That's a trap designed to keep you chasing. Real power is when no one can tell you what to think, what to want, or what to value. When your internal measure is so clear the entire world could say you're wrong and it wouldn't move you. Musashi called this coup, the void, emptiness. Not emptiness like nothing matters. Emptiness like stripping away everything that isn't real. Borrowed techniques, fake foundations. What you think strength should look like based on others. Because if your foundation is false, everything collapses under real pressure. Take Kenji. Looked confident, spoke with authority, did everything right. Then someone challenged him in a meeting and everything inside started shaking. He realized his confidence was completely dependent on people agreeing with him. He was mimicking powerful men, not building real strength. Here's how you know if your position is borrowed. If everyone stopped validating your choices tomorrow, would you still know who you are? If that makes you uncomfortable, you're standing on fake ground. Musashi spent years as a masterless ronin, could have borrowed status from a clan. He chose emptiness instead, stripped away every external measure until all that remained was what he actually was. That's where you start. Not building more, eliminating everything that isn't actually yours. Every belief about what you should want that came from outside. Every measure that needs approval to feel real. You won't like this. It'll feel like losing ground. But you can't become your strongest version while pretending to be someone else's version of strong. Once you strip the false layers, you need to know what you're actually building toward, but not the way you think. Step 2, the water. Most men are fighting battles they were never built to win. You strip the fake positions, now find your actual terrain. This is where most men destroy themselves. They pick the wrong battlefield. Musashi called this sui, water. Water doesn't fight its container, it adapts. It takes the shape of whatever holds it, not because it's weak, because it understands its nature. Here's what's going to hurt. You're chasing success that requires strengths you don't have, and ignoring the ones you do because they don't look impressive. You're 5'6" wanting to play in the NBA. Possible, sure, but you're grinding uphill against guys who are 6'8", fighting your own biology. Now take those genetics, fast, explosive, low center, and put them in track or wrestling. Same effort, completely different outcome. That's the trap. Men see someone winning and think, I want that position. They love the idea, the status, the respect. Then reality hits. 3 months in, nothing feels natural. You're working twice as hard for half the results because this battlefield wasn't designed for you. Here's what most self-improvement misses. There is no universal definition of strength. Only the question, where do your natural advantages become weapons? Musashi practiced calligraphy, painting, sculpture. Not to be well-rounded, to define his own standard of mastery. He competed against that internal measure, not other swordsmen. That's why he never lost. Kenji faced this after stripping his fake confidence. He'd been comparing himself to colleagues who spoke louder, who seemed more aggressive, always looking sideways. Then he asked, what are my actual strengths? He wasn't built to be the loudest voice. His strength was reading 3 moves ahead, guiding without forcing. Once he stopped trying to win on everyone else's battlefield, everything shifted. You plateau because your measurement system is outside you. When your standard lives inside you, there's no ceiling. You have your terrain now, but you'll lose every battle if you can't see what's actually happening. Step 3, the ground, chi. Most men think they see clearly. They don't. They see the surface and mistake it for the whole picture. Musashi taught the difference between ken and kan. Ken is seeing what's in front of you. Kan is perceiving, understanding the structure underneath. Most men only have ken. They react to words, to actions, to what's visible. They completely miss what's actually happening. Here's what this looks like. You're in a meeting. Someone challenges your idea. You hear criticism. Your ego interprets it as an attack. You react defensively. You just lost. Not because you were wrong, but because you couldn't see past the surface. What you missed, that person wasn't attacking you. They were positioning themselves in front of their boss. The real dynamic had nothing to do with your idea, but you reacted to the words instead of perceiving the structure. This is where weak men stay weak forever. They think conflict is about what's being said. It's not. It's about what's not being said. The silence between words, the subtext, the actual power dynamics playing out underneath the conversation. Musashi called this chi, the ground. Plant your feet, see the terrain clearly. But most men's feet are never planted because their perception is constantly chasing surface-level reactions. Here's the shift. Stop asking, what are they saying? Start asking, what's actually happening here? That question changes everything. You're no longer reacting to words. You're reading the room's actual structure. Kenji learned this the hard way. Hostile meeting, senior executive questioning his project. Old Kenji would have heard criticism and gotten defensive. New Kenji stopped. He didn't react to the words. He watched. The executive wasn't trying to kill the project. He was testing if Kenji would crack under pressure. The real question wasn't about the project. It was about Kenji. Once Kenji saw that, his response completely changed. He didn't defend. He acknowledged the concern calmly and explained his reasoning without emotion. The executive nodded. Test passed. Most men go through life reacting to what people say. Strong men perceive what people actually mean. That's not a skill. That's a completely different way of seeing the world. You can read the room now, but reading doesn't matter if you can't act on it with precision. Step 4. The fire, ka. Most men think power is about force. It's not. Power is about timing. Musashi called this ka, fire. He taught Hayoshi the rhythm of timing. Every situation has a natural rhythm. You don't create it, you sync to it. Think about a conversation that went wrong. You had the right words, but you forced it at the wrong moment and everything collapsed. That wasn't a failure of knowing what to do. That was a failure of timing. Amateur fighters use more force. Masters wait for the moment the door opens by itself. Here's the shift. You're not waiting for when you're ready. You're waiting for when the moment is ready. One is about your comfort. The other is about reading when the opening actually appears. Musashi never forced a strike. He moved when his opponent's guard dropped. Not a second before, not a second after. That precision was reading the rhythm and syncing to it. This applies to everything. Conversations, negotiations, career moves. There's a moment when resistance drops and the path opens. Most men miss it because they're forcing too early or hesitating too late. Kenji learned this after months of frustration. He'd force conversations toward his goals and hit walls. Then he stopped. He started watching for the natural rhythm. When did people actually open up? When was the moment ripe? Once he synced to that rhythm instead of forcing his own, everything became easier. Not working harder, moving with precision. Timing gets you in position, but you'll still lose without the next piece. Step 5. Fudoshin. Most men think strength is about staying calm. It's not. Calm is just surface control. What you need is something deeper. Musashi called this Fudoshin, the immovable mind. Not calm, not controlled. Unmoved at the core regardless of what's happening around you. Here's the difference most men never grasp. Calm is a response to chaos. An unmoved center doesn't respond at all. Chaos moves around you, not through you. Think about the last time real pressure hit. Someone disrespected you in front of people you care about. Your heart rate spiked. Your thoughts scattered. You tried to stay calm, but everything inside was shaking. That's because you don't have a center. You have reactions pretending to be stability. Your power isn't staying calm. It's having a center so solid that nothing external can shift it. This isn't breathing techniques. Those help, but they're surface level. What Musashi taught was deeper, an internal reference point that doesn't move. When everything around you is chaos, you remain oriented to that center, not fighting the chaos, not suppressing it, just unmoved by it. Most men's center shifts with every external pressure. Someone disrespects them and their whole internal world tilts. Someone doubts them and suddenly they're questioning everything. That's not strength. That's being blown around by every wind. Kenji experienced this at his brother's wedding. Family member made a cutting remark about his life choices in front of everyone. Old Kenji would have either shut down or exploded. New Kenji felt the anger rise, acknowledged it, but his center didn't shift. He looked at them, smiled slightly, and said nothing. The power in that silence was unmistakable. You have an unshakable foundation now. Pressure can't move you anymore, but center keeps you stable. Stability without direction is just standing still. Step 6 weaponizes everything. Step 6. The wind. Fu. Most men make the same mistake. They learn a few principles and think they can skip straight to mastery. They want to just be natural before they've earned it. Musashi taught Fu, the wind, how principles move through you until they become you. He called it shuhari, learn the form, break the form, transcend the form. You can't skip levels. The form isn't a cage you're escaping. The form is the path to transcending it. Think about learning to drive. At first, every movement is conscious. Check mirror, signal, hands positioned. You're thinking about everything. That's shu. Then you develop your own style. That's ha. Eventually, you're not thinking at all. You're just driving. That's ri. Most men want ri without earning shu. They see a master move naturally and think, I'll just do that. You can't. The naturalness comes from 10,000 repetitions of the form. Amateurs want to skip to mastery. Masters know the form is the path to transcending it. Kenji spent months consciously applying these steps, identifying false positions, finding his terrain, reading dynamics, operating from center, every day, conscious effort. Then, something shifted. He stopped thinking about the steps. They just happened. He wasn't performing strength anymore. He was being it. Integration takes time. You can't force it. But when it happens, you're not doing the system. You are the system. The system is integrated now, but there's one final shift that makes you truly dangerous. Step 7. Mushin. Musashi fought over 60 duels and never lost. Then at the peak of his skill, he stopped fighting entirely. Not because he was tired, because he'd already won. The external battles were over. He'd become the thing itself. This is Mushin, no mind. Not confidence, not skill. Complete internal decisiveness about who you are. Here's what separates weak men from strong men. Weak men are always becoming, always trying, always proving. Strong men have already decided who they are. Most men walk through life with a question mark hanging over them. Am I strong enough? Am I respected? Do people see me as powerful? That question never ends. Every situation becomes a test. Every interaction becomes a chance to prove themselves or a risk of being exposed. The decided man doesn't have that question. He's already answered it, not with arrogance, with decisiveness. He's decided who he is, and that decision is final. There's nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to chase. When you're decided, pressure isn't pressure anymore. It's just environment. You don't handle it. You don't even notice it the way others do. Kenji's final form looked like this. He walked into his girlfriend's family gathering. Her father had never respected him, always made subtle digs. Old Kenji would have spent the whole night anxious, trying to prove himself. New Kenji walked in and the shift was immediate. He wasn't performing strength. He just was it. Her father sensed it before a word was spoken. The dynamic flipped without effort. That's what happens when you become decided. The room changes before you act. You started as someone life pushes around. Work this system and you become the man who's already decided. And everyone can sense it before you even speak. And if you want more wisdom like this delivered weekly, check out our free newsletter. Links in the description below. May God bless you and see you in the next video.